5:19 at KPL. I guess, John, just a little bit early.
Yes.
We said we'd divulge all this information at 5:20, but we're going to do it right now at 5:19 because what the heck, John is just chomping at the bit.
Sure.
So John has got this wild idea that Bobby Jindal not only will win the nomination, but he'll be the next president. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm going to explain how this is possible.
Okay, I'm listening, Ricky. Hit me
All
with
right,
it.
because here's the thing, and you'd have to agree with this. The conventional wisdom is that Governor Jindal will enter into a very crowded Republican field after best case scenario, moderate to limited success as a governor of a small southern state with a whole lot of pretty big time players way out in front of him. Okay? And so the conventional wisdom, in fact, I dare say you can find anyone, and I discount someone like Sean Hannity. Hannity has to sell spots. He has to make things interesting. And so he's been, promoting Governor Jindal for quite some time and has a whole bunch of other reasons.
Sure.
Too, okay. So, and I don't even think Hannity, for that matter, is the one out there promoting.
Really?
What I'm saying is this. Okay.
Okay.
The person you have to go back and look to on this, and you've alluded to, Jimmy Carter, you've alluded to Bill Clinton, a couple of these. I think the good or the reasonable analysis actually is the Bill Clinton analysis.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Let's look at, for example, the Bill Clinton legacy. Bill Clinton was going to leave the state of Arkansas, a small, poor southern state where he had limited to moderate success, best case scenario.
Okay.
Best case scenario.
I'm with you so far.
All right. So he goes to Iowa. All right. Campaigns, has controversies. Controversies, by the way, that Bobby Jindal will never have.
No, Bobby doesn't have that kind of magnetism to women.
Yeah, well, I'm a poor judge of that anyway. So let me go here. He's not going to have a problem with a draft. He's not going to have a problem with an affair. He's not going to have a problem with smoking dope.
Okay, makes sense.
Bill Clinton in Iowa got less than 3%. Less than 3%.
Okay.
The winner of that was actually Tom Harkin.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
That harkens back to what?
Yeah. Now, who got almost twice the vote that Bill Clinton got? Paul Tsongas. Jerry Brown was hot on his heels.
Really?
There were more people uncommitted out of Iowa. And by the way, there was about 11 people. Okay? Now, let's fast forward. New Hampshire. Where does he come in New Hampshire? Well, he comes in a very, very distant second. But the field had shrunk dramatically by that time.
Who was number one?
Yeah, Paul Tsongas.
Again?
Paul Tsongas cleans his clock in New Hampshire. It isn't until deep into the whole primary caucus season that Bill Clinton finally ekes out a small victory in Georgia. And then it'll be another week or so before he picks up South Carolina. Now, with the juggling of the primaries and everything this time around, all Bobby Jindal has to do is come in, say, top 6 in Iowa. There's a possibility he could do that. Going from 2% or 1%, whatever he has, to 4 or 5%, that's just not that much. So he can do that. Then he can tread water in New Hampshire. It's a small state. People like seeing people going door to door. It's a little bit rough because, man, New Hampshire in the wintertime is a tough one. But he'll go into South Carolina where he helped elect Nikki Haley as governor. And he will clean up South Carolina. Then you start going into southern states. Southern states that are more likely to vote for what? Someone based on being socially conservative, a commitment to a balanced budget. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
He's going to leave here, and let me tell you something. The criticisms we have internally, it's not that they're not valid or they're not useful or important or whatever. They're totally irrelevant for the purposes of a national political campaign.
Because
totally irrelevant.
Because the word doesn't get out.
It's not only that, but let me tell you something. At the end of the day, does anybody sitting in Des Moines, Iowa, care that McNeese State University lost some professors because there were budget cuts?
No.
Not even a little bit.
Right.
They will see big ticket items. They'll see commitment to not raise taxes, commitment to balance the budget, a commitment to clean up ethics in this state, an increase in the overall business climate of the state. All those big items that you can take to a national stage that, guess what, don't necessarily play here, but play there. Now, here's another parallel. Bill Clinton in 1988 gave the Democratic National Convention keynote speak. At this speech, he flubbed it. Not only flubbed it, but it was universally discussed that he had killed his career. He would never be back on a national stage. He would never have any kind of platform again because his speech went long. It was terrible. They started booing him. Who else had a speech like that? I remember a speech, too, where Governor Jindal followed the president. And let's just put it, best case scenario, it wasn't particularly good. Worst case scenario, it was awkward. It was uncomfortable.
I'll say it was bad.
But you know what? All press is good press. So he continued, so he did that. The other thing, too, is just like Bobby Jindal lost a bid to become governor once, so did Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton lost to a guy named Frank White. Who the heck is Frank White? The only person to ever beat Bobby Jindal, only person to beat Bill Clinton, I should say, in a head-to-head race.
It's Frank White.
Frank White. That's it. Frank White, the only person. Now, Bobby Jindal beat for a governor's race Kathleen Blanco, the only election he ever lost. Since then, he has become a very different kind of candidate. Now, let me ask you this, and I think you'll agree with me.
Don't get your horses ready yet.
Is Bobby Jindal a better campaigner or a better governor?
Oh, he's a much better campaigner.
They're not electing him as a governor. He's going to be a campaigner. He's got a staff of people fundamentally devoted, on the ground, been on the ground. When I talk to people in Iowa, because you know I did a lot of consulting in Iowa, business people all over the state say, I've really narrowed it down between Jeb Bush and Bobby Jindal. And I said, what do you like about Bobby Jindal? He committed to not raising taxes and balance the budget. That's the big ticket.
Well, I committed to making $1 million this year. Doesn't mean I made it.
There's a difference between governing and campaigning. I would have to say that among the people running right now, with the exception of Jeb Bush, Bobby Jindal's campaign skills far outweigh Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Chris Christie. I'm not talking about content. I'm talking about campaigning. There's a difference. So, this is the thing that you're going to see.
Okay, I'm ready.
I think what you're going to see is he doing better than expected, not great in Iowa, better than expected, not great in New Hampshire, hanging around, and then when he goes to South Carolina, all of a sudden, it's Bobby Jindal at the top of the ticket. And then we're standing around, and here's what's going to happen. Because everyone will say, oh, man, hold on a second. If Bobby Jindal ran against Barack Obama in Louisiana, he'd lose. No, he wouldn't. There's a difference between favorability and unfavorability. Mm-hmm. Do you really think a state that voted 70-30 against Barack Obama is all of a sudden going to change regardless? No.
No, I don't think so on that.
What you're going to find, though, is when he starts becoming more and more popular, how people across the state are going to say, I sure am proud of Bobby Jindal. He'll take our important Louisiana values to the nation. You're going to see all these naysayers drop like flies. That's why I'm talking about it today.
John.
Because I'm laying out the scenario for you.
I'm a naysayer, and I don't care what Bobby Jindal does. He will not carry Louisiana's values anywhere. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think we've done that part, and we'll open it up for calls when we come back here in a little bit. But I think it's at least a scenario to think about. Remember, at the end of the day, at the time in 1992, people thought that Jerry Brown, former governor of California, was going to be the strength going into the 1992 race. They thought for sure Senator Bob Kerrey, Tom Harkin, Paul Tsongas, these were giants compared to this little old country boy from Arkansas who couldn't possibly compete.
But Jerry Brown, Governor Moonbeam, come on, man.
The Democrats were absolutely, and remember, Jerry took it all the way to the convention. He took it all the way to convention. Tsongas didn't drop out until the very end. Now we're all sitting around saying, who the heck is Paul Tsongas?
Absolutely. Man. All right. Dr. John has made his prediction, and I say, ha. He's nuts. 529. We've got Todd Starnes coming up, local news. And after that, we'll come back, take your phone call, see what you think about John's prediction or anything else you want to talk about today.